Hey you guys, it's your girl Abriah, Serenity, and I'm back at you with another video. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about the flags that I saw in my relationship before I got married and the things that were happening in my relationship that let me know this was not the person I was supposed to marry and this was not the right way to go. And some of the things that happened after we got married. Okay, some of the things that happened after we got married that really let me know I didn't really messed up, right? I knew I messed up after a certain point after a marriage. Like, I knew it wasn't something I was supposed to do before I got married, but after I got married, I was like, ooh, I done messed up. I wrote down a couple things to kind of like be specific because there were a lot of things I ignored. I was with this person for a really long time. And there was a lot of things that he and I both were doing that was like a really big indicator that this was not what God wanted for our lives, right? So I'm telling my story not to shame anybody. Full disclaimer, this is not to put anybody to shame, to embarrass anyone, to make an idol of my pain, but to help young women, okay, who are in these situations, help them understand that these are some of the things that you may experience when you're not with the right person. And if you are experiencing any of the things that I put on this list, you need to be seeking the Lord about what he wants you to do, how to get out. Asking the Lord to remove you or that person from your life. A young woman who reached out to me in my DMs was like 23, 24 years old, going through these things that I put on this list. And my heart hurt for her. And there's a lot of these women who are online looking for answers, looking for signs, trying to figure out, am I in the right situation? Did I do the right thing? Am I about to make the right choice? So I hope this video brings some clarity and some revelation to you, okay? So without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. Number one, this person was physically and verbally abusive. There was abuse all throughout that relationship and the marriage. Now, they weren't physically abusive the entire relationship and the entire marriage, but the beginning stages, yes. And they were very comfortable putting their hands on me, headbutting me, doing all types of things they had no business doing. And some people would say, well, if he was abusive and you knew all these things about him, why did you marry him? I grew up in an abusive home. There was already a cycle of abuse present. And so I kind of normalized this. And so when he did it for the first time, it didn't send off the alarm or the flags that it should have sent off, because it's kind of like, okay, been here before, been there, done that. Always beating up somebody. I'm always in a situation where I'm being thrown up against the wall or I'm being attacked or something like that. So when it happened, it did not signal danger. I had already normalized this type of behavior. And it was easier for me to forgive because it was already being done to me at home in numerous different ways. And so it did not send off a danger signal. It did not send off a signal where I don't need to be with this person. All I would do was cry and say, I can't believe he did that. Why he do that? Why he just don't love me? And then I would go back. I had a contorted false sense of love where I believed that somebody could harm you with their words and harm you with their hands and still love you. Subconsciously embedded into my brain because of my upbringing. Somebody can treat you, abuse you, and do you any type of way and still love you. I ended up staying in that situation for a long time because I had already normalized that type of behavior. And it did not seem as bad as what it actually was. Like, it was way worse than what I made it out to be. And maybe that was a way of me protecting my psyche as well. You know, me just trying to make it seem like not such a big deal to have an excuse to stay. But ultimately, like, yeah, I grew up around abuse. I was abused most of my life. I had normalized this. This was not new to me. So when it happened to me, it wasn't like danger, danger, danger. It was kind of just like, wow, I can't believe you too. You too. You're going to be another person do this to me too. That's crazy. Like, I still love you. I'm going to stick this out with you. But wow, I never thought that you would be a part of this too. Like, but still didn't have the courage to leave. Still thought this person really loves me. They just need help. But see, here's the thing to my young women and my young men, because it's not just women who get abused. Men get abused too. If somebody's abusing you, it's not your job to teach them how to not abuse you. The only way you could teach somebody to not abuse you is by getting the heck away from them if you are able. Because everybody's not able to get away from their abusers. But if you are able, you're in a position where you're able, the only way you're going to teach them not to abuse you is if you get the heck away from them. If you walk away from them the first time, if you're like, yeah, you blew it, and not letting it happen again. Get away from your abusers. That's the only way you're going to teach them. And it's not your job to fix them. It's not your job to heal them. They're going to keep doing them until God gives them a revelation, until God delivers them. And it's not your job to wait around for that to happen. They have to do the work. They have to want to be healed and delivered. There is something in them, a wound in them, some type of demonic spirit over them that's causing them to cause harm to other people. But until they are delivered, you need to get the heck out of the way, because the demons operating behind them want to put you down. Number 2, this person was selfish, and they would constantly say things that would give me like a foreshadow of our relationship and marriage in the beginning of our relationship and throughout the course of our relationship. So how do I know that this person was selfish? They told me. They flat out told me. Like when I first met them, they gave me a full disclaimer. Hey, I'm selfish. And if you're going to be with me, that's just something you're going to have to deal with. And me being delusional in love and just so blinded about how cute I thought he was, I'm just like, boy, you so crazy. You're not selfish. You just single. And then like, once you're not single, you're not going to be selfish. Like, you're going to love me and then you're going to want to be selfless for me. Like, because you're in love, right? No. Like, he was very much so selfish the entire relationship and the marriage. Like, that never changed. It never changed. Like, it may have improved in some ways over the years, but like, he was selfish the entire time. The entire time. So if somebody you meet tells you something like that about themselves, that is a flag. And you need to be asking yourself, whoa, 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 whoa. Is this something that I want to accept? Even at a young age, is that something I want to deal with? What if they never outgrow this? Because a lot of young people, such as myself, we believe that people are going to outgrow things. We believe people are going to outgrow stuff. And they don't. And they're not. That's just how they're going to be. And we kind of just get into these situations not really considering what this person is saying. There's a reason why people are telling you things in the beginning. They're saying, hey, I'm selfish. And that's something you're going to have to deal with. You really need to sit and think about what that means, because I sure as heck didn't. Also would say things throughout the course of our relationship and our marriage, foreshadowing what was going to happen. So he would say things indirectly and make jokes. He would say it in a joking way. And he would say, oh, I could just see us like happy and then we get married and we get divorced. He would say that. He would say that. I'd never forget when he said that to me. We were still in high school when he said that to me. And I looked at him and I was like, why would you say that? Why would you speak divorce over, like, why would you? I literally remember looking at him strange, like, why would you say that? When demons are operating behind a person, oftentimes they will speak through the person they are using, okay, and give you a foreshadow of their plans for you to get you to come into agreement with what they're doing, to get you to come into agreement with their covenant that they're trying to establish with you and that person, to operate in your life, to create curses and havoc in your life. So a lot of the times these demonic spirits would speak through him and tell me what they're going to do before they actually do it. And then sometimes he would speak something maybe like a year, in a certain year, like say for instance, he would speak something in like 2015 or 2014. It wouldn't actually happen until like 2020. And then I would remember back to that moment where he would say it, and I'd be like, yo, he literally spoke this out of his mouth. Got in a really heated argument and he said something like, I'm gonna leave you with this child. I'm gonna leave you to raise these kids by yourself, and I'm gonna go off and live my own life and live my best life with a woman I actually want. He said that to me. Said that to me in an argument, okay? And actually happened years later down the line. It didn't happen right away, but it was already in his mind to do. Life and death is in the tongue. And so when you hear these people saying certain things out of their mouth, when you hear people giving you these disclaimers before you get into these situations, you need to really sit down and ask yourself, what am I agreeing to? What am I getting? A lot of us are so delusional. A lot of us are so in love, don't have understanding, don't know nothing about boys, don't know nothing about women. We just getting into anything. Don't understand nothing. Don't understand what we about to get ourselves in trouble with, what kind of ride we're in for. And we kind of just be like, so why would you say that? That's not funny. Don't say that. Don't say that. You know you love me. You know we're going to be together forever. We're never going to get a divorce. Delusional. He was very selfish from the get. He warned me. So if you're with somebody and they're warning you, believe them. Do not wait for them to show you just how toxic or selfish they are. Do not wait for those jokes that they tell you or those things that they say passively to actually happen. Because if they spoke it out of their mouth, it's already in their brain, it's somewhere in their heart. Or the demons operating behind them are kind of like putting you on notice. Like, this is what I plan to do to you. This is what I'm going to do to you. They have to either get you to laugh. They have to get you to acknowledge what was said. They got to get you to engage in some type of activity to get you to agree with what they're doing. They're trying to establish these demonic covenants over your life that will birth curses and wreak havoc in your life for years to come. And they're just letting you know this is what they're going to do to you. And a lot of us be laughing like, that's not funny. Why would you say that? A Christian with discerning ears would be like, whoa, 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 whoa. Hold up. What you just say? Oh yeah, nah, we ain't gonna work. Number 3, we were not wholly committed to each other. And notice that I said we. Okay, we. Now in the beginning of our relationship, the flags were there. Okay, we were also very young. We were very young, had no business trying to be wholly committed to anybody. We should have been out here meeting people, trying to figure out what we like, what we don't like. Not out here sinning, but we should have definitely been keeping our options open, especially at the season in our life in which we got together. It was a very pivotal time. It was not the time to try to be in a seriously committed relationship. It was the time to be like, you know what? We dated. This was nice. This was fun. Time to part ways. If we ever get back together, you know, it's because the Lord brought it back together. That's the type of attitude we should have had. But we were trying to do too much too soon, be too serious, and we were not wholly committed to each other. And the flags were there in the beginning. When I first got with this person and we first got in a relationship, he was texting other girls. He was flirting with other girls. He was looking at other girls in the hall and out in public and wouldn't even try to hide it. Wouldn't even try to hide it. Okay, this person's mind and heart was not solely on me. Yes, they were spending most of their time with me, but their mind was not solely on me. This person actually would tell me that they found certain women attractive. Like, he would see certain women on Instagram and be like, dang, she fine, in front of me. In front of me. And I remember one time he did it and his brother was next to him and was like, why would you really? Like, really? Your girlfriend is right here? You're going to say that in front of her? And he's like, I'm just playing. I'm like, no, you weren't. No, you weren't. We were not wholly committed to each other in our hearts and our minds. And a lot of people think that just because you do not sleep with a person, that means you're faithful and that you're committed. That's not true. That is not true. Just because you don't directly sleep with a person does not mean that you're faithful. You could entertain somebody emotionally with your eyes, with your mind. You could allow other people to occupy places that only God and your spouse and your significant other should occupy. So no, you are not wholly committed. And there came a point in the relationship where I began to entertain another guy to get attention that I was not getting from him. Like, okay, you gonna keep mistreating me, you gonna keep talking to me any type of way, I'm gonna go get attention from him. But I didn't want to leave him though. I didn't want to leave him. I was like, I'm just gonna go get my attention on the side and then I'm gonna still stay with you, you know. I'm gonna flirt and then make myself feel better about myself, and then I'm gonna come back and get beat up again. Come back and get talked to like crap again, and then once I'm depleted, I'm gonna go back and get attention from the other guy who was just as toxic as the guy that I was with. That cycle of abuse and toxicity. And if you realize that you're in a relationship with somebody who is not wholly committed to you, that's not going to change. I'm sorry. It's not going to change. And if you are not wholly committed to the person that you're with, mind, body, soul, spirit, that's not going to magically change when you get married or as time goes on. You first have to learn self-control. You have to master the art of self-control. And then you can learn how to fully commit yourself to a person. But if you can't even control yourself, you can't even commit to yourself, honor yourself, you're not going to be able to do it with somebody else. Being married takes self-control. There's going to be plenty of times in your marriage where you're not going to be happy with the person that you're married to. There's going to be times where you're really arguing with them and you're not going to like them. You're going to be like, I don't know if I like you today. But because you have mastered the art of self-control and you understand what it means to wholly commit yourself to a person, your mind is not even going to go there. You're not even going to fantasize about those things. You're not going to be thinking about that person that you dated in high school and how you should have never passed up on them. Your mind is not going to go there. Okay? Especially if it's a man. A man has to wholly submit himself to God and people that are above him. He has to submit himself to some form of leadership. He has to have somebody to answer to. Because if he's out of control, don't have no self-control, doesn't have to answer to anybody, isn't submitted to God, he going to do whatever He gonna think whatever, he gonna entertain whatever. It's just not gonna be, it's not gonna be a good look. And it's not something time alone can teach. It's literally an exercise of will. You have to exercise your free will and master the art of self-control and understand what it means to wholly commit yourself to somebody entirely and apply that and walk that every single day that you are in a committed relationship and that you are married. Period. Number 4, toxic mothers. We both had very toxic mothers, okay, that were influencing our relationship, that were just putting strain on our relationship and our marriage. It was just a lot. More so his mother than mine. Okay, and me and her are cool now, so I'm not saying that as a form of disrespect, but it is the truth. There are so many arguments that we had because of his mother. We literally had an argument one day because I was afraid that he was never going to be a man, that he was never going to be able to stand up to his mother and set boundaries, that he was going to let his mother walk all over him, rule over him, control everything he did or did not do, how we did things, how we spent our holidays, that his mother was just going to govern everything. And he was afraid that I was going to end up just like my mother. He was afraid that I was going to end up like my mother because I had qualities in me that were in her that he did not like. And that's fair. I was toxic at the time, and I did have qualities about me that I needed to be delivered from, and I was not the healthiest person, right? And I was not the best communicator, and I did not have control of my emotions, and that spirit of rejection was just ruling over me, something serious. But his mother caused a lot of issues early on in our relationship. She was too involved in our relationship. It caused a lot of issues, and that did not change. Now, having toxic in-laws or having overbearing in-laws does not mean that your relationship is not going to be successful. It does not mean that your marriage is going to be a crap show. It does not mean that it's not God ordained. But how your spouse, how your partner responds, and what they allow their parents to do will give you a foreshadow of what to expect and what you're going to deal with when you do get married and when you have children. You also have to understand that when you marry a person, you marry their family. You marry that person's mother. And when we were talking about marriage, there were so many times where I didn't even want to talk about marriage because I was thinking about breaking up with him because of his mother. There was times where I wanted to end things with him simply because I did not want to deal with his mother. That's how much she used to get on my nerves. With her son no more. So I ain't got to deal with her in that way. But when we were together, oh my goodness. There was so many times me and him was going throat for throat because of something his mother did. And actually, when I think back to some of the last arguments that we had, you know, in our marriage, a lot of them had to do with his mother. That she said, something she did, something she prompted, something she instigated, whether it was intentional, unintentional, whatever. She caused a lot of issues and it wreaked havoc in our situation. And it caused me to not want to be with him. And my mother caused him to question me and not fully see if I was somebody that he wanted to spend the rest of his life with. Because he's just like, okay, I don't have to worry about her being ugly. I don't have to worry about her, you know, giving me ugly children. But these qualities in her that her mama got, these things that her mother does, that she does, it's kind of like, do I want to be with a woman like that, you know? Those things I outgrew, I got delivered from. Even now, he comes around me now and he's just like, oh my gosh, who is this woman? Like, I don't know this woman. Who is this girl? But like, our mothers caused a lot of strife. And it was a really big indicator that we did not need to be together. Like, I did not want to marry him simply because his mother. I'm like, I don't want to marry into this. I did not want to marry into this. And there were so many times where she disrespected me throughout the course of our relationship. And the issue was not even that she was just overbearing and toxic. The issue was that my ex could not stand up to her and draw the line. And that he could not protect me from her. Right? And that it's like, okay, if we're going to have a family, if we're going to be married, I don't want to have to be dealing with your mom too. Like, I already have my own mother that has her issues and that she's abusive and I got to deal with that. I don't want to add to the list. I already got to deal with your abuse too. You want me to add another person who I have to tolerate disrespect from? You know, it was really triggering and it was kind of just like, I don't know if I can take any more. Our mothers kind of gave us a prerequisite course to what we were going to be dealing with later. And we were kind of just like, I don't know if we can deal with that. And it was very clear that I did not want to marry into that, but I was so blind. Again, I was delusional. I kind of was just like, you know, he will grow into whatever he needs to grow into, his manhood, I guess. And he will be the man that's going to like protect me from these things. And he's not going to allow her to do certain things. Wrong, wrong, wrong. That didn't change for a very, 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 very long time. And even when it changed, like him and I were no longer together and it didn't matter anymore. It's just the truth. Like, I'm not saying, like I said, I'm cool with her now. Like, I'm not with her son anymore. So, you know, I'm cool with her now. But back then, oh, I didn't want to deal with her at all. Matter of fact, when me and my ex-husband split, she was on my block list. She was blocked. Okay, I was just like, I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to deal with you. I don't want to see you. Like, you know, it's by the grace of God. It is by the grace of God that I can say things do change. And when I say things, I mean me, because that's the only way that was going to work is if I changed, because she kind of still the same. His mother was like really pressuring us to do things that like we shouldn't do. And she influenced him a lot. Like, she influenced him a lot to do things that I didn't think were best for him. And it was constantly a mommy said, you say type of battle. And I didn't like that. It's like, I don't want to have to talk to my partner or my husband about serious things and you're like, oh, but my mom told me to do this. And it's kind of just like, okay, but I'm telling you that doesn't sound like a good idea, right? Like, I don't care if your mother said it. I'm telling you, don't do that. And it will always be mommy said. And it was always like him putting his mother, you know, over me a lot in the relationship and valuing her words over mine. And that also caused a lot of issues in our marriage and our relationship as well. Number 5, there was no God in this relationship. And this relationship was full of sin. And the works of the flesh were heavy at work in the both of us. And I need you guys to understand that, because some people are kind of just like, oh no, God can turn it around. There was no God in this relationship at all. We didn't even consistently pray over our food. We didn't even talk to each other about what our beliefs really were, what we really believed in, where we stood with these things. We went to church every so often because that's what we were raised to do. That's what we were expected to do. Our parents were churchy people. We both grew up in church. Sunday, in church every Sunday, kids. Like, that's who we were. And so we went to church. We had a natural desire to be in church with other saints because that's what we were raised to do. And sometimes that's where like we felt like we were at home sometimes. And his family was heavily involved in the church. So he was always doing something. He was there because one of his cousins were singing, because somebody was performing, because somebody is doing something. He had a reason to be there. But as individuals, you know, outside of that, did he really have a relationship with God? No, not that I know of. And we never talked about it. That's never a conversation that we had. And I see that in a lot of people's relationships, that they end up in these long-term relationships for so long and they realize that's never a conversation that they had. They never ask each other what their beliefs are. The only thing they have in common is sin. That was a flag, and it should be a flag for y'all. If you're in a relationship and God is not present, you are probably really heavily involved in some form of sin. Even if it's not deliberate sin, like sin that you are completely aware of, there may be some other sin that's present, because if God is not present, that's a problem. Okay, that's a big flag. Number 6, my body was physically rejecting him before and after marriage. There came a point in our relationship where my body began to reject him, flat out reject him. I began to not like the way that he smelled. And he was not a musty person. He didn't have bad hygiene. I just simply didn't like his odor anymore. I didn't like the way he smelled. I didn't like the smell of his cologne. I didn't like the soap that he used. I don't know what type of fabric softener he was using. Any smell associated with him, I just didn't like it. I was starting not to like it. It was so weird. And it slowly began to happen. I just realized one day I didn't like the way that he smelled. His breath didn't stink or nothing. It was just like, I don't like the way you smell anymore. And my body would not be comfortable with his scent. I would know if he was in a room. I would know if he had just took a nap or something. I could just smell it. My body was not agreeing with the hormones that his body was letting off. It wasn't doing it for me anymore. My body began to reject his affection. So I didn't like kissing him anymore. I didn't like when he held my hand. He would always be trying to be really affectionate towards me, and I didn't like it. In the beginning of our relationship, that wasn't a problem. We were always hugged up and all over each other. But then after a while, my body was like, meh, no. Now, I do have intimacy issues, had intimacy issues. So I didn't necessarily accredit that to him. You know, I didn't see that as my body just not wanting to be touched by him. But, you know, after being abused and treated poorly for so long, your body's going to not want that person after a while. Your body's going to stop wanting to be with that person. I stopped wanting to have sex with this person. Our sex life began to decline. Our sex life just was bad. When we did have sex, it was not good sex. And it was kind of just like, I'm forcing myself to do this because I don't want to do this. I'm forcing myself to do this to keep you happy, to keep you satisfied. But deep down, I don't want to do this. He began to get frustrated. It caused more arguments. He felt rejected by me because, you know, most men, they need that. They're like, I need this. And if you deny them that, they feel insanely rejected. It hits their ego and their self-esteem in an insane way. And they take it to heart, you know, not considering, oh, she probably doesn't want me because I'm not treating her right. You know, that doesn't cross their mind at all. It's just that she doesn't want me. Oh my gosh, she doesn't want, you know. But my body began to reject him. Also, my body would have like issues down there. Like not STI, STD type of thing. But it was constantly just like ongoing issues. And it's like, why does this, like why do I keep getting a UTI? You know, why do I keep getting random UTIs, you know, after intercourse? It's so annoying. You know, and I would ask my doctor, like, I got some type of kidney infection or something. Like, what's going on? You know, and my body was warning me. My body was subtly warning me. And sometimes our bodies will warn us about a person before our spirit and our mind catches up. Your body can sense the change, especially if you're spending every waking day with this person. You can smell when something about your partner is different. There was a time where he smelled something different about me because I had been around another guy. He was like, why you smell different? Your body will warn you. Your senses will warn you. You could have had a spiritual spouse and that could have played a role in that as well. That's a whole different story for another day. But that also could have played a role in that as well. But it's like my body got completely shut off from them. Like I used to really not be able to keep my hands off of them. But all of a sudden, like my body just completely shut down. It didn't happen overnight. It slowly happened. Again, like I said, I was being mistreated. I was being abused and not done right by this person for so long. Eventually, my body was going to stop being receptive to them. Didn't want to be penetrated. I did not want to initiate sex. I could go really, really long periods of time without being intimate with them and not be phased and not get like horny or whatever. You know, I would rather self-please than be intimate with them at some point. It was really bad. So you guys really need to pay attention to your body. Like your body will tell you when something's off. If you're constantly getting sick when you're around this person, like you're constantly getting the flu, you're getting like COVID and stuff, just reoccurring sickness, only when you're around this person, that's a flag. If your body is acting funny every time you sleep with this person, that's a flag. You shouldn't be sleeping with anybody, period, outside of marriage. But if you're sleeping around and your body acts funny whenever you sleep with that specific person and it's not an STD or STI, that's a flag to let you know that something's going on that should not be going on. And you also need to just pay attention to how your body responds. And there's a scientific study out there somewhere, I have to find it, where it was saying that if you do not like the smell of your partner, that's a really, really bad sign that you guys are not compatible. I don't know where I read that in some type of science article or a journal, and I would try to force myself and my body was just like, no. No, my body's like, you're trying to force us to do it. We're not doing it. We're not doing it. We're not doing it. And so my body began to physically reject this person. Number 7, this person was very controlling. And that's a really, really big flag. If you're in a relationship and that person is controlling you in any way, they're just really, really controlling finances, what you guys do, how you guys do it, when you do it, where you spend your time, where you don't spend your time. That's kind of what was going on with me and this person. And I was a very strong-willed girl who had a life outside of him, right? I had a job. I had goals. I was in school. I had friends. I had stuff that I was trying to do. I was well connected in the neighborhood that I was in. So I could kind of go anywhere and just chill anywhere and be safe almost anywhere I was at and have no issues, right? So I could always find something to do, but he always wanted the sun to rise and set on his behind. And he kind of always wanted me to be with him and spend all my time with him, all my waking moments with him. I would get so frustrated because I'm like, oh, this person is holding me back. This person is interfering with me living life. It's almost as if my life had to stop whenever he was around. And I had to strip myself of my individuality to be with him. It's almost as if he didn't embrace all of me. He only embraced the parts of me he was comfortable with. And one thing that irritated me a lot in this relationship was that his family, not all of them, but the immediate family, did not see me as a person outside of him. It was kind of like I was him. You know, he was my identity, and I did not like that. They often treated him like he was the creme de la creme, and that I was just lucky to be with him, right, type of thing. And it was kind of like, no, I was that girl before him. I had my own stuff going on. I was pretty freaking amazing even back then. You know, even when I was in sin and I was young and I was naive, I was great, fabulous. Okay, I was that girl. So I would get insulted thinking like, do not shrink me or minimize me to be this person's shadow. I'm so much more than that. But they would minimize me to just be this person's partner, this person's spouse. It's kind of like I'm more than just their spouse. I'm more than just their girlfriend. I'm way more than that. But they only wanted to see me and put me in that box as his partner. And so that's the box he tried to keep me in. There was a lot of control. Even when it came to going out on dates, there was not, I was not being properly courted, and this person didn't seem to have a lot of interest in things that interested me. So that would influence on the type of dates he took me on. We would only go places he was interested in. So if he wanted to go do something on a Friday night, we're going where he wants to go, not where I want to go. And I would even give, you know, hey, I want to go here. I want to try that. I don't want to do that. That doesn't sound like a good time. I don't want to do that. He's not like that now. But back then, oh yeah, no, it didn't matter what I wanted to do. It was all about what he wanted to do. Or even if we did want to do something I wanted to do, it would come last. Number 8, we did not value the same things and often didn't agree on a lot of things, especially things that were important in life. We also didn't have any goals or anything that we were working towards to benefit our relationship or our marriage. And that's really, really important. So there was a conversation that we had really, really early on in our relationship. And I remember asking him, like, do you want kids? And he said, no. He said no. And I said, oh, well, I do want kids. And so if you don't want kids, I think that we should like not date, because I know long term, like I want a family, like I want children. And he was like, well, I don't want kids at all. Like I don't want kids at all. And I said, well, that's okay. I respect that. You don't have to want kids for me, and I'm not going to try to make you want kids. But if you don't want them, we should not date, because I for sure want that. And I'm willing to break up with you because you don't want kids. That is a conversation I had with him very early on in our relationship. And I told him how badly I wanted kids, like in the future. Not right at that moment, but I was like, in the future, I do want children. I always knew that I was going to be a mother. And he was just like, well, I don't. And I said, okay, well, we don't have to date. And when I said that, he was like, okay, well, I'll change my mind. Maybe we can have kids, but I don't want them. And I said, well, I don't want you to want kids because I want them. I want you to want kids because that's something you're willing to commit yourself to, and that's something that you want to do, not because of me. And so we often didn't agree on things like that. Same thing about money. We didn't have the same ideas or values when it came to finances, what we should be doing with them, how we should be utilizing them. You know, he believed in having very, very nice things, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but I was very frugal. I believed in saving, investing your money, and working hard now and being frugal now, so that when you got it, and you can have those things that you want with no issue. You can have expensive taste. But we didn't see eye to eye on a lot of things. Like, so there's a lot of conversations that we had in the beginning that it was kind of like we should have been broke up, but because we were young, dumb, in love, we kind of brushed past all of that. Like, there's a lot of things that he wanted that I did not want. There was a lot of things I wanted that he did not want. There were a lot of ways that he wanted to live his life that I did not agree with. That right there was a big indicator that we did not need to get married. Number 9, there was a lot of dishonesty and unsaid words that greatly damaged us as individuals. There were so many times where I was dishonest with him because I was trying to keep peace. I wanted to be one foot in, one foot out. I wanted to be with him, but still wanted to go live my life and do what it is that I wanted to do. I didn't understand what it meant to be wholly committed to a person. Like I said earlier, we were not wholly committed, and I did not want to completely cut off who I was as a person to become whatever this person he was trying to morph me into. And I don't think he was trying to morph me into this person on purpose. Like, he was trying to get rid of who I was. I think he ended up being with me because he liked who I was originally, but then he began to try to change me, and everything that he liked about me, he began to like try to do away with and try to make me whoever he was, or he tried to make me into a person he was comfortable with. A lot of that had to do with like insecurity and things like that. He wanted me to be a person that made him feel more secure. In order for him to feel more secure, I had to shrink. So there was a lot of lying on my end. I was very dishonest with him at times. And I recently like apologized to him for that. Like, you know, last time I saw him, I was like, you know, I apologize for all the lying that I did when we were together. You know, regardless of how you treated me and the things that happened within our relationship, you know, that's not an excuse to lie, and that's not an excuse to do the things that I did. You know, in our relationship, I still have to hold myself accountable and have some integrity, you know, regardless of what other people do to me. So I told him, like, you didn't deserve that version of me. I didn't deserve that version of you. You know, I lied a lot. And I tell people all the time, if there's lies in your relationship, if somebody lies to you once, there's probably 50 more. Okay, it's never just one lie. There's never just one lie with anybody or anything. If there's one lie, you got to tell like 20 more to cover up the one that you told. And then you got to cover up 50 more to secure the others. Like, it's never just one lie. So if you start seeing that people are being dishonest with each other in some way, hiding things from each other, there's a root there, and it's probably real ugly. There was a lot of unsaid words. There was a lot of things him and I didn't say to each other. Oftentimes, I felt the same way he felt, but he just would not communicate that to me. So he was just as unhappy as I was, and he just didn't know how to fix it, and neither did I. If we had just been really vulnerable and honest with each other, we probably wouldn't have even caused each other so much pain. But the fact that we were lying to each other, because it wasn't just me, we were lying to each other about very serious things. Like, we could have avoided a lot of things if we had just been honest. Number 15, there were a lot of addictions present. Okay, for me, I have told my testimony about masturbation. There was pornography, lust, and a whole bunch of other things that were going on between the both of us, you know, that were like normal at the time. He didn't really know how bad mine was, but his was pretty bad. And so it would affect our relationship. It would affect our relationship. And I tell people all the time that porn affects your relationships. Do not think that it's not affecting your relationships. It is doing things to your brain. Seriously, you guys, like, if you are in a relationship, if you are married and you're watching porn, I guarantee that it's killing your marriage, helping your marriage. You cut the porn out, your sex life will get better. That's guaranteed. Having dreams about him. Okay, I was having dreams about him, but the dreams started really, really late. And all the dreams had something to do with like infidelity or betrayal or something of the sort. And I kind of would just like not know what they meant. They would make me paranoid. I would go through his phone and try to look for things and try to see where they were at. You know, oftentimes I wouldn't find anything. But the Lord was definitely warning me about those things even then. Also did not have peace with this person. Like, after a certain point, I just didn't have peace. I never had peace in that relationship, but I definitely wasn't even able to be comfortable around them anymore. Like, I just was like, oh my goodness, like something is just off. I can't even be comfortable here anymore. The Lord was really trying to call me up and out of that situation, but I was being resistant. Like, back then, I was one of those people that always needed answers and proof for something. I always needed somebody to confess. I always needed somebody to tell me something, instead of just relying on my gut and relying on the things I was seeing, what I knew, to move around. Some people will be like, oh, you had a dream and so you broke up with them? Yes. Yes, I did. Like, I wish I was that person that I am now back then, because I only got to have one dream about you in that instance. And especially if I prayed on it. I prayed on it and the Lord sent me a dream about you doing something shiesty, and I test the spirit behind that thing, and you start showing symptoms of the things I saw in my dreams, you're done for. You're out of here. Back then, I used to be ignoring the heck out of my dreams. And my peace was greatly disturbed. I didn't even feel comfortable around this person anymore at some point. And that was a really, really big flag right before we got married, that I was just like, man, I don't even feel right marrying this person. You would think that all the things that I discussed in this video, that I wouldn't have been uncomfortable a long time ago, but for some reason the discomfort increased the closer we got to being married. The Lord let me have less peace. I became less comfortable around this person. My body was rejecting this person. Nothing was going right. We were arguing all the time about little things. There was just no peace. Like, there was never any peace. And the Lord would not let me have peace in that situation, because it was not a situation he wanted me to be in. I had like a lot of fear and concerns. Like I was concerned that like once we got married that he was going to like start beating on me, and that I was going to move away with him somewhere where I couldn't get back home, and that he was just going to be treating me way worse there, because now he didn't have anybody to answer to. He didn't have anybody that could like see me. And so I was like really scared that I was going to end up on like first 48 or something. Not that I was afraid that he was going to like end my life, but I mean, you know what I'm saying? Considering our history, I didn't really feel the most confident about moving out of state, being alone with this person and my children with nobody around. Like that was something that I was feeling before we got married. Like that's just what I was feeling. You would think I felt that way before, but no, I started to really feel that before we got married for some odd reason. Like before I didn't feel it, but then right before we got married, I'm like, I don't want to end up on first 48. I just wasn't ready. Like I was not ready to be a wife. I was not ready to get married. I was unhealed, unsaved, undelivered. I had a lot of trauma. I had a lot of issues. I didn't even know how to communicate my emotions. I had so many emotions that I had stuffed down over the years. I struggled with delayed emotion. I was not ready to be anybody's wife. And I was trying to force myself to be ready. And if somebody is trying to put pressure on you to be married, because there was so much pressure to be married. This man pressured me. He pressured me. His mother pressured me to be married. And it was so nerve-wracking. And it was kind of like they were pressuring me to marry him, or for I to marry him to prove that I loved him, and he wanted me to go be with him wherever he was. But there was just so much pressure. Anything the Lord wants you to do, there won't be any pressure. Like if the Lord really wants something, it won't be any pressure with it. You ain't gonna be feeling forced or pressured to do anything if God wants you to do something. No, absolutely not. There was a lot of pressure there, and I simply was just not ready. I simply was not ready. And he knew this. I expressed this to him. I told him, I don't think this is the best move for us, for our family right now. I was like, I think we need to set out a plan. That was also another thing that was really concerning me. I'm like, we have no plan. We have no money. We have not thought this through. You're just being really spontaneous. Kind of like, oh, we're going to figure it out. I'm like, I don't operate like that. I don't like just doing stuff with no plan. Write the vision, make it plain. Even back then when I didn't know the word and I ain't had a word in me, you know what I'm saying? I still thought like that. I kind of was like, you ain't just supposed to just hop out nowhere with no plan. You know, no direction, no sense of anything, you know, you just out here doing stuff. Guidance. We didn't have God telling us to do nothing either. It was going to be a mess. It was going to be a mess, and a part of me knew it. And a part of me did not want to be poor. I'm like, I do not want to be married and poor. If I'm going to be poor, I'd rather just be single and poor. Why I got to be married and poor? Like, I don't want to be married and poor. I did not want to be poor. I did not want to struggle. My dad was very much so upper middle class. Okay, if you're familiar with Chicago, Illinois, my dad lived in Beverly. Okay, I grew up in the south suburbs. I was not poverty stricken. Okay, we did not have it good, you know what I'm saying, all the time. You know, my mom struggled, but we had it better than most. Okay, and I was not willing to go lower on the poverty scale. You know what I'm saying? That's not something that I wanted to experience. I always knew I was called to live an abundant life. I always knew that I was not going to be poor. I knew that I was going to marry into wealth. I knew that I always knew I was going to be wealthy some way, somehow, at some point in my life. And poverty was not something I was called to. And what he was trying to do was giving poverty. It was giving poverty, and I felt it in my spirit, even though I couldn't pinpoint why. I was just so unsettled by it. It was because I was discerning the spirit of poverty over that situation. Financially in some areas, but other areas, oh, we suffered. What's that K. Michelle song where she be like, you gonna suffer, you gonna suffer? Oh, I was suffering financially. I hated it. I hated it. And I had to split. He was controlling the money, how much money he gave me, how we split it, how we did it. Now, I will say he never let me be without money. That I will say. He never let me be without money. He always made sure I had some money. But when we had to deal with financial things, sometimes he was very selfish and very controlling when it came to that as well. And we suffered a lot financially. We didn't have any growth financially. It was just very like hard to manage, you know. So we did suffer a lot financially. Some ways, yeah, it did help us out a little bit, you know, but like we struggled a lot for years while we were legally married on paper, we weren't really like benefiting from our finances. And you know, when you're in Christ, your finances are supposed to grow. You're supposed to grow over time. You're supposed to be seeing improvement over time. That's not what was happening there. It was kind of like we would get some money and then it'd be gone. We get some money and it'd be gone. We get some money and it'd be gone. And then it wasn't until like we separated that I began to get money and I began to grow in certain areas of my life. Like that poverty hold was off me. We got married. We were arguing. We argued that day. We argued that morning. We argued on our way to the courthouse. We argued in the car. Okay, that we were just not in a good mood that day. It was not, His cologne, I remember, was making me mad. I didn't like the smell of it. And we were just arguing. And we got to the courthouse. We got it done. We was like, okay, whatever. He was smiling, but I was just like really irritated. It was not a good day. It was not a good day for me. And after we got married, it was kind of like all heck broke loose. We were arguing even more than we typically were before we got married. I had the worst feeling in my stomach before we got married. Like, I had this really bad gut feeling the day before. I even remember having a conversation with him. I was like, can we just hold off? Can we just wait? I just have a really bad feeling like we should just wait. It was something I was asking him to do before we got married. I was like, can we just like hold this off and do this? And he's like, no, you keep stalling. No, you keep putting this off. We need to do this now or never type of talk and ultimatum giving type of talk. And I'm like, I have been putting this off. I have been delaying this. Let me just go ahead and get it over with and just take care of it after the fact we get married. A horrible feeling. I knew I was doing something wrong. I knew I was doing something wrong. And after we got married, all heck broke loose. He started being mean to me again, meaner than usual. It was like a light switch flipped off of him, almost like he didn't even want me. You know, it was almost like his heart was turned away from me slowly over time. It didn't happen immediately, but it slowly, gradually happened over time. I started having dreams about infidelity. I started having dreams about cheating consistently, not just one, not just two. They were consistent. And I was just like, oh my goodness, it was making me so paranoid. I was asking him questions. I was interrogating him, and he would just gaslight me and act like my dreams were just crazy, like I was just insecure. But the whole time, my dreams were true. Also, the part where I knew I messed up, oh my goodness. Okay, so we were in this house, this townhouse that he had got us. And while he was in the shower or something, I went through his phone and I saw that he had journals. So he didn't share a lot of his life while we were separated. So he had a whole other life wherever he was staying at, separate from me. And I would always ask him to like let me in, like what's his life like, what are his friends like. He wouldn't tell me everything. He wouldn't tell me anything. He was very secretive. I went through his journals trying to just see like what his daily life is like. Y'all, why was he like trashing me in these journals? Trashing me in these journals, talking about me so bad, y'all. Talking about me so bad. I was sitting there gagged. I'm like, this man is literally going in on me in these journals, y'all. I screenshotted them. I screenshotted and said to myself because I couldn't even believe what I was reading. This man was calling me fat. This man was like, I can't stand her fat. Like, oh my, y'all. He was going in. He was going ham. He's like, I'm going to be cheating on her. It's going to be plenty of women that look better than her where I'm at. And I'm going to be doing all that stuff. I'm going to do it all. He's writing this in his journal. And I didn't marry this man. I married him already. And I'm reading this after the fact. I was mad at myself. I'm like, why didn't I go through his journals before we got married? I would have never married him if I read this. I was so blue. I was gagged. And I was so hurt. I took a screenshot of it just to have proof. And I put his phone back. Did something like, he saw the screenshot that I took in his phone and he knew that I read it. And he came back home kind of like salty, like, dang, she read what I wrote. And he was kind of like, let's sit down and talk about what I wrote. And I was like, nah. Like in my mind, I'm like, nah, we ain't got to talk about it. Ain't nothing to talk about. And this is so embarrassing, but it's true. Like he was sitting down there like, let's talk. I was mad when I wrote that. I didn't mean it. I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. He was like, what? I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. He's like, you didn't go through my phone. I was like, no, lying. And he was just like, what did he say? He was like, I said that stuff when I was mad. I'm like, I don't know what did you say? What did you say? And he got quiet and he was like, so you didn't go through my phone? I was like, no. I'm like, what are we doing today? Like switch the subject like real quick. And he was like, Maybe she didn't see it. But like, I just lied and act like I didn't see it. Y'all, he was talking about me so bad. And it wasn't just that one entry. That was just the worst one that I read. Like, he wrote that before we got married, y'all. I was blue. And that's when I knew I had made a mistake. He already be verbally abusing me, like, in real life. Like, but it was like, the journals took it to a whole nother level. Oh, man, y'all, my heart was so broken. My heart was so broke. Even though I knew he was angry with me because he found out about the infidelity, and that was really like damaging to him. That was not a small thing. You know what I'm saying? So his ego was really hurt about that, and he was really like angry at me, even though he was abusing me and treating me wrong like the entire relationship. Like, my infidelity was the straw that broke the camel's back. And it was, because it was like detrimental. It wasn't small. Like I said, it was not small. It was bad. Like, in the way he found out was bad. Like, it was just bad. It's very traumatic for him. Just all bad. He like really had a lot of anger and resentment towards me, but like, it was like on 1,000. And he had multiple journal entries like that. And I was just like really crying in the room, like after he left to go to work, because I was just like, wow, I just really made a mistake. The next thing that really let me know, like, oh, I messed up. Was one day we came home. He came home for the holidays. I was pregnant. And I got sick with some type of stomach virus, some type of stomach bug. And I was so sick, y'all. I was so sick, throwing up all day, all night. And this man did not care. This man did not try to tend to me, not one time. This man didn't ask if I was okay. He was just really irritated at the fact that I was sick. Like, he didn't even want to be there. And my dad is taking care of me while this man is just sitting there watching me be sick. And I just felt so horrible, like literally because I was sick, but I also felt horrible because he didn't even tend to me at all. And I'm this man's wife. You feel what I'm saying? Like, I'm this man's wife, and I'm sitting over here sick as a dog, pregnant, like throwing up for almost 2 days straight. And not once did he ask if I was okay. Not once did he ever try to like maybe some tea or anything. As a matter of fact, you know what he said? He said, I'm about to leave and go to my parents' house because I want to go play the game. While I'm sitting there throwing up with a fever. Right then and there, I married the wrong man. You would think I would have known I married the wrong man long before that. But like, that was the point where I knew, like, this is the person that would have to take care of me if I had some type of terminal illness. This is the type of person who would be taking care of me if I got into a car accident or something. Like, this is the person who would have to take care of me. And I'm sick right now, and this person do not care. Like, if this was worse, God forbid, like, this is the person whose care I would be in. This person probably would toss me into some type of like home or something. And I knew right then and there, like, I did not marry well. And I knew that if I stayed with this person, that I was going to basically be like a single parent that was married. And that I was going to have to carry my own weight. I was going to have to be taking care of myself. I was going to have to be an independent woman in a marriage. Like, he was not going to be my covering. Like, only on the times and the days that he felt like it. Or when he was getting what he wanted. Like, but I knew, like, oh, this man do not care about me. After reading that journal and then him doing that, I'm like, this man do not care about me. They think he do, but he don't. Okay? And then after that, we had a really bad argument that same holiday season. We had a really bad argument. And in the midst of that argument, that man said everything he felt about me. Everything that he thought. He said, you a bum. You live with your parents. You leech off people. You don't even be doing that with yourself. Look at you. Like, you lucky I'm even with you. Like, he was talking like that. Talking down on me. I'm pregnant. Like, wow. I really messed up. I really, really, really messed up. Like, I was just like, oh my God. I didn't even know what to do. I was so just like, I can't tell nobody this. This is too embarrassing. We had got married. I kept it a secret for a long time. He was mad that I kept it a secret. He's like, you're ashamed of me. You're darn skippy. You're darn skippy. I am ashamed. I am ashamed how we did this. I'm ashamed because this is not the way people should get married. So yeah, I'm not going to announce that we got married because this isn't nothing to be happy about. Like, he was delusional in his own right as well. Like, he was delusional in his own right. And eventually he ended up leaving. He ended up leaving the relationship. He ended up leaving the marriage. And I was so pissed because I was just like, why did you like, you guys have to understand, this man and his mother pressured me to marry him for years. Pressure. Do you understand what I'm saying? In the worst way. And so when he left the marriage, when he left the situation, he bowed out gracefully. He bowed out gracefully originally, because he just was like, he don't know what's going on. He's like, I'm not ready. He was trying to fix things. He's not happy. I'm not either. And he said he felt really bad because he didn't want to separate his family. I didn't want to separate my family either. And that's part of the reason why we kept trying to make it work. We loved our little, love our little family that we created. We literally created like this really cute photogenic family, which is so cute. And we have really great chemistry together. But however, we're better when we're not together than we are when we are together. Like, we're way better co-parents than we are a couple. Like, he felt guilty for pressuring me to marry him. I still have that text message actually where he was saying like, he feels so bad because it didn't have to be like this, but he did this. He basically admitted it was like, I pressured you to marry me just for me to marry you and then not think this is the right thing for me anymore. And he's like, I feel really bad. But he told me, and he's held his word to this day, that he's just like, I don't care whether we together or not. You know, I always got love for you and I'm always make sure you straight. That's what he said to me. And that's one thing he has honored, and that's one thing he has done. Like, he never left me out high and dry. He never left me out knowing that I had nothing, you know. He always made sure I had something in my pockets and that he was sending me something. Yeah, those are the flags, y'all. Those are the flags. There were so many more flags. But, like, the going through his journals, y'all. Oh, going through his journals. That broke me, y'all. Broke me. I was what? What's that clip in Precious when she was like, he told me to shut my up, so I shut up. That's what it was giving, y'all. Oh my God. That's not funny. It's funny now. It wasn't funny then, but it's funny now. Oh, y'all don't understand. I gotta insert that clip. Oh my goodness. That was not, like, going through them journals, y'all should have seen my face. I was like, you don't understand, like, the stuff men say about women, the stuff men say about their wives, the stuff men say about us. If women really told men how they felt, what they thought, like, they would never forgive us. They'll never forget it. They'll never forget. They'll hate us for the rest of their lives. They don't even understand. Like, oh, that's what you think about me? Oh, just imagine what she think about you, bro. You be complaining about your husband, just imagine what he think about you. You complain about your wife, just imagine all the things that are trapped in her mind that she does not say because she loves you. These were the flags in my relationship, but that's how I knew this was not God ordained. Y'all can hear this message, this video, and y'all like, oh my gosh, like, there's more. Like, and that's not even everything. That's not even everything, y'all. That's just, like, really not even the half. That's just the major stuff that let me know that this was a mistake. That let me and him know, like, okay, this was not the right thing to do. We was too young, like, but we did have good intentions. Like, we really did want to be a family. We really did love each other. You know, we really did love each other. Even now when we're together, you guys see the love. You know, we have respect for one another. You know what I'm saying? And it's always going to be that. We always going to have love for one another. It's just that we know that was not the right thing to do. Like, and we know now, like, love is not enough to marry somebody. And I think people need to understand that. You can love somebody till the cows come home, but that's not enough. And that's not going to keep a marriage going. You know, not that type of love. Like, that type of love that we had for one another, that we thought was love, that's not the biblical love. Right? Biblical love, God love is unconditional. That love had conditions, right? We didn't understand what love was. We did love each other in the best way we knew how at that time, with God not being present in our lives and having no knowledge of scripture. And we were always going to have love for each other, but we understood that was not enough to keep a marriage going. We understood that there had to be more to be able to have a successful marriage, to be able to be wholly committed to a person. There was way more that was necessary, that was needed in order to keep this afloat. But he was taught in his defense, he was taught at a very young age that if you love somebody, you should just be with them. Like, one thing they would do was just make everything, romanticize everything. Like, his family would romanticize a lot of things that did not need to be romanticized. And so he romanticized a lot of things. And once he stepped into it, he's just like, this ain't how this supposed to be, you know? And I was the opposite. I was like, I did not romanticize things. Like, I did not romanticize stuff. I was like, dude, no. We understand, like, love alone is not enough. And you can love somebody so much and you know that's not your person, right? I know a lot of people like that. I know a lot of people who's like, I love that girl so much, but I know that was not the woman I was supposed to be with. I love that guy so much, but I know that's not the guy for me. And I know so many people who have had non-traumatic, peaceful breakups where they just knew, like, yeah, this is not, you know, this is not working. We're not each other's person. Like, we're not fitting. You know, I don't think we're complimenting each other. I don't think this is what God wants for us. And they've had to separate. And it was very sad, you know, and hurtful. But they at least acknowledged, like, yeah, we love each other, but that's not enough. I didn't stamp it. You know, love ain't gonna keep it. Love is not gonna keep it. So yeah, those are my flags. And that is a little bit more detailed version of why you need to pay attention and not be rebellious and listen to God. When you see flags the first time and you see it, you need to just, yeah, you need to just see. I had young age on my side and, you know, I was naive. I'm glad that I did not go through those things in my 30s. Okay, I'm glad that I went through those things when I was like in my early 20s. As traumatic as it was, God used it to bring me closer to him. And I learned my lesson and I repented and I have been on this journey ever since. But I wish I could have spent my 20s doing other things, you know, other than traumatizing myself. Because I could say, oh, these people were traumatizing me. I was traumatizing myself by allowing it. Okay, accountability. I'm really big on accountability here. Like, because a lot of this pain was self-inflicted. Because I just was ignoring it. I kind of just want to do my own thing. I just was doing stuff that just didn't make sense. But y'all, I was very humorous throughout this video. And some people are like, why is she laughing? I can laugh about it now. Okay, I done forgave people. I done forgave him. Me and him, we are on good terms. He's not like that anymore. You know, and things have changed. It's been a really, really long time. It's ancient history for me. You know, news to social media, but like ancient history for us. And so a lot of things have changed. A lot of things have passed. And so he's a lot better guy now. And he's a pretty awesome guy. Like, I don't want you guys to hear this and just be like, oh, he was a horrible person. No, he's not a horrible person. He just had his own demons. There were some demons that were undealt with. He had some healing that needed to be done. He had issues, mommy issues. He had a rough upbringing, you know, as well. We both had like these toxic cycles in our lives that we needed to work on. So he wasn't just like this horrible person. And I wasn't just like this really good person, you know. He was just trying to figure things out just as much as I was. And we hurt each other a lot in the process of trying to figure things out. You know. So yeah, if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Comment your experience. If you've had a similar experience, or if any of the things that I listed are things that you experienced when you were about to get married, or before you got married, or while you were married, please drop it in the comments. I understand how much your comments encourage other women. Like other women, yes, they watch this video and they're going to be so moved and be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that's something that she went through. Oh my gosh, how did she pass through all those flags? Oh my goodness, is she for real? And then there's going to be other women who have other stories in the comments that are going to be just as moving, if not more. And it's going to encourage so many women and move so many women. And there's so many men and women, because women aren't the only ones who watch my channel. But there's going to be so many men that are kind of like, oh my goodness, like, I need to get out of this relationship. Oh my goodness, I need to stop. Oh my goodness, I need to go. Like, this needs to end. Like, and end that toxic cycle. And then a lot of you don't understand that the enemy can put covenants and blood curses over your family, and you could constantly end up in cycles and relationships that are set up to fail, to reinstate curses in your family. So you can constantly have curses of relationships that don't work, constantly have relationships of abuse, constantly have relationships of infidelity and adultery and things like that. So those things can also be curses that are over your bloodline that you may need to renounce, that you may need to break. Some altars that you may need to come up against in the spirit. So like I said, we do not battle against flesh and blood. You know, there's a lot of things that I did, that he did, that caused pain to one another, but ultimately it was the enemy operating behind the both of us. It wasn't just us being crappy individuals, you know. So even with all of that, that was my experience, y'all. Those are all the flags that I just chose to ignore before I got married, you know what I'm saying? And that's how I got in that situation. And the whole time I still went ahead and got in that. So yeah, it was nobody's fault but my own. So when people say that marriage, no, God wanted you with that person, please, please hush. No, he did not. No, he didn't. Okay? And this was just a PG-13 version. Okay? He did not want me with that person. He did not want us together. He delivered me out of that situation. Okay? Like, God is good. God is good. All the time, God is good. But y'all, like, that really was not a good decision. That really was a mistake that I made. And I am wise enough and hold myself accountable to be able to acknowledge that. Because a lot of this stuff was showing up long before I got married, you guys. Long before I got married. Okay? I love you all with the love of the Lord. If you stayed to the end of the video, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and turn on your notifications so that you don't miss any more uploads from me. I love you all with the love of the Lord, and I'll see you guys next time.